Hi everyone, welcome to EP-Edge Podcast. I'm Dr. Niraj Sharma, electrophysiologist, the voice behind the EP-Edge newsletter. If you've been following our journey on LinkedIn, you already know that EP-Edge was born out of a simple idea to share meaningful, cutting-edge electrophysiology insights with our community. But today marks something new. With this podcast, my goal is to go beyond written words, to connect, to converse, and to bring EP closer to where you are, whether that's during your morning commute, post-procedure wind down, or that quiet moment between cases, if you have any. I also want this podcast to reflect something I believe in deeply, the power of human intelligence amplified by artificial intelligence. Each episode will bring you the best of both worlds, clinical expertise from real-world EP practice and intelligent AI narration to make complex information more accessible, more consistent, and more scalable. In other words, expert insight amplified. You will hear updates on the latest clinical trials and technologies, conversations with thought leaders, and quick EP minutes packed with practical pearls for clinicians, APPs, fellows, and students. Whether it's pulse field ablation, stroke prevention strategies, or pacing frontiers, we'll explore not just what's happening, but why it matters. And now, as part of the first episode, I'd like to bring you something familiar in a new format, our EP-Edge newsletter narrated by AI. This is from May 2025, where we deep dive into pulse field ablation. Thank you and enjoy.
Okay, let's dive in. Today, we're really unpacking some critical updates in electrophysiology.
Yeah, focusing on two big things, right? Pulse field ablation, PFA, and also how AI is starting to play a role.
Exactly. PFA, it came with this huge promise, ultra-selective, non-thermal. Sounds amazing.
It does. Yeah. But now we're seeing a wave of real-world data, and we need to look closely, especially at the systemic side effects.
Right. So that's our mission here. Cut through the buzz and get to what you really need to know from this latest research.
Okay, so where do we start? Maybe with that promise of non-thermal ablation.
Yeah, let's do that.
Well, the NEMESIS-PFA registry is a good place. They looked at non-target tissue injury, comparing PFA with mostly RF ablation, about 870 patients.
And what they found about systemic burden, it was, well, surprising, wasn't it?
It really was. I mean, massive measurable burden after PFA.
And the scale of it is what gets me. If PFA is truly non-thermal, why on earth are troponin levels like 100 times higher compared to RF?
Yeah, that's the key question. It sort of challenges that core assumption, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. What could be happening?
It suggests that even if the energy is selective for heart muscle cells, maybe it's causing some kind of micro-injury elsewhere. Or indirectly.
And it wasn't just troponins, right?
No, definitely not. The registry showed significant jumps in markers for hemolysis. Red blood cell breakdown. LDH and plasma-free hemoglobin were way up.
So this isn't just some minor lab finding. This points to a real physiological impact.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's the direct hit to the heart muscles function.
You mean the left atrial ejection fraction, the LAEF?
Yes. That dropped by a whopping 20% after PFA. Compare that to just 5% after RF.
20%. That's a huge difference in how well that chamber is pumping right after the procedure.
It is. And importantly, they saw a clear dose-response relationship.
Meaning more PFA lesions led to more systemic injury?
That's right. So it kind of pushes back on the idea that PFA is just inherently gentler because it avoids heat.
It seems we're maybe trading one type of injury, thermal, for another, more complex systemic and hematologic burden.
A burden we're only just starting to really quantify, I think.
Okay, so let's pivot slightly. Because these systemic effects, they might tie into some of those rare but really serious risks clinicians worry about.
Like silent strokes.
Yeah, exactly. Let's talk about silent cerebral lesions. There was that Miyazaki study.
Right, finding silent strokes in, half of PFA patients?
Half. But the kicker was that most of them, like over 85%, weren't tiny little spots. They were medium to large lesions on the MRI scans.
And particularly with certain types of catheters, the variable loop ones.
So this isn't just, some imaging artifact. It suggests real embolic risk that needs watching.
Definitely. And linking back to that hemolysis we mentioned.
The coronary spasm case. That was frightening.
It really was. The Luther case report, a 53-year-old guy, procedure goes fine, everything looks good.
And then 45 minutes later?
Yeah, delayed, diffuse right, coronary artery spasm, cardiac arrest, just catastrophic.
And the proposed link is directly back to that PFA-induced hemolysis.
That's the theory. The hemolysis gobbles up nitric oxide, NO, which the blood vessels need to stay relaxed. Take away the NO and you risk severe diffuse spasm.
Wow. So that's the first time that connection's been published, linking the hemolysis from PFA directly to this kind of delayed, dangerous coronary event.
Right. And it makes you think maybe for extensive PFA cases, we should be considering things like prophylactic nitrates. Needs more study, but it's a serious thought.
Okay, so we have this picture. PFA is efficient, no doubt, but it comes with this measurable systemic cost and these rare but devastating risks.
It's a complex balance.
And that very complexity, the need for such precision to avoid collateral damage, that actually leads us perfectly into the next topic, AI.
Right, because if the procedure is this delicate, we need smarter tools to guide it.
Enter AI. What was unveiled at Heart Rhythm 2025?
The big one was the DeePRISM model. And this isn't just like workflow optimization AI.
Wow.
No, this is AI using deep learning to analyze intracardiac signals in real time during the procedure.
To do what specifically?
To predict the exact spots, the termination sites, for persistent AF, based on data from about 110 patients.
Okay, so AI is moving from the background, optimizing scheduling or something, right into the heart of the clinical decision-making during the ablation itself.
Exactly. It's anchoring the intervention. And the results were pretty impressive.
What did they find?
The model helped achieve 40% acute termination of the AF right there on the table.
40% acute success is significant.
It is. And maybe even more importantly, up to 70% of those patients were still arrhythmia-free 2 years later.
70% at 2 years is a really strong outcome for persistent AF.
It really is. It suggests AI can be like a co-pilot, guiding the operator to the most critical spots, maximizing the effectiveness, and hopefully minimizing that collateral damage we were just talking about.
So let's try and wrap this up. What's the takeaway for you listening?
Well, PFA clearly offers big advantages in efficiency, but we have to acknowledge this data, like from NEMESIS. There's a real quantifiable systemic burden hitting the blood, kidneys, the heart muscle itself.
While at the same time, the technology driving the procedure, AI, is rapidly evolving from just being helpful to being potentially essential for doing it safely and effectively.
Right. It's a dual reality unfolding.
So maybe a final thought to leave people with.
Okay, here's something to mull over. We now have evidence of these medium to large silent strokes, plus this clear systemic burden from PFA. How do you, as a clinician, balance the known efficiency of PFA against the need for potentially more comprehensive, maybe even delayed surveillance after the procedure?
That's the tough question, isn't it? How much monitoring is enough, given these new findings?
Exactly. That's the conversation we need to be having as this technology matures.
Thank you for listening to this inaugural episode of EPH Podcast. What you just heard was more than just a newsletter in audio form. It's the start of a new way of sharing and shaping conversation around electrophysiology. Next episode from June 2025 newsletter explores VT, ablation, and therapy, and determines whether the current guidelines are out of date and possibly need revision. I'd love to make this podcast a two-way conversation. You can email me your questions, comments, or current topic suggestions to ephcast@gmail.com or connect with me on LinkedIn. If you found this valuable, please subscribe, share, and help grow EPH community. I'm Dr. Niraj Sharma, and together we're going to stay on the edge of electrophysiology. Thank you, and bye for now.